there was like that one scene when they go to find the ghost to like talk to the ghost and like ask her about like the killer who they think died. It was like the new, I think that was the new shadow hunter that we got in this book, who was like the exchange student on her travel year.
Oh yeah, and she ended up
And
dead.
yeah, but we get that fight scene, and like that was really cool when we got that fight scene. And was that the scene that we got James with the revolver, the gun, the first time? We see that he's able to use the gun, and like he's like the only one who's able to use like this demon gun.
I think so.
Yeah, but that was really great. Like I love the gun part of this. I thought that was so cool.
Yeah, that was interesting. I feel like we don't really get stuff like that in the Shadowhunter.
Yeah, exactly. Like
But
Christopher Lightwood, he just invents him and Henry. Like I loved
speaking of that, we got a good scene with him and Grace
I
in
didn't
this
realize
book.
I didn't realize how much I was gonna ship that until I read
And
it. And
it
I
was
was
so subtle.
whoa.
Like it was really like nothing that we got, but it was just there. And it's like a little spark that I feel like could just like grow. Like
Yes. I thought it was so great. Like I loved like, it was just really funny. Like Christopher was like in his like lab, like testing out because that's when they found like that stele. That's not a stele, right? And that was like the rune. It like can draw the runes and like take the runes to somebody else, right? That's when they found that tool that Thomas found, right?
mhm.
And yeah, Grace like comes in like through the window or something, and like Christopher's just like in his lab, and
He's like
she's just
so friendly and like greets her and it's just like
he's
their
like,
whole
oh,
interaction and like she was so like taken aback by how like nice he was. And like I
yeah.
don't know, it was a really like it was
Wasn't
a
he
good
like
scene.
wasn't he like, oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were the rats or something like that? Like he
Yeah.
thing like where he's like, oh, it's just you. Hi, Grace. Like, what's up? Like, how are you?
But I feel like
And
she's not used to talking to people unless she's like manipulating them, like for her mother. Like she's not used to just having a conversation just to do it unless she's trying to get something out of it.
mhm.
So I think that that was it was nice to see her have a conversation that wasn't just something that she was trying to do like that was
Yeah.
bad.
Well, because she even thinks like it was really interesting having her point of view during that scene because she even thinks she's like, I could just manipulate him to do what I want.
And she
But then
doesn't want
like,
to.
but then she's like, no, like I don't want to do this. I want to
Mhm.
just play it out and see like me like this person's really nice. And I loved how they like bonded over like their science and he helped and she helped him figure it out.
Mhm.
Like and
And she
she
was
was
only in there for like a few minutes, but it was great.
well, you know what's funny is I saw someone on Tumblr was like the reason why there's not that many Christopher and Grace scenes together is because they would have figured the entire thing out in like a chapter. Because like there's
Yeah.
like I thought like they solved that so fast together, and I really liked that, and I liked how Christopher was like, I love science so much, but every time I talk about things that I love about science, a lot of people tune me out. Like, yeah, he has Thomas, who's really great about it and everything, and he has Henry, but
Right,
he
but
does
a lot of people don't find that as interesting.
exactly. And Grace was like so interested. She was like, oh, asking questions and stuff. And I just really love that. And I'm really happy that according to the family tree, that's not correct, apparently, but they end up together, which is really nice.
According to the fake family tree.
According to the fake family tree that we're relying on.
Yeah.
At that scene, after that, there's a knock on the door and it's Matthew. And Matthew's like, oh, I need that. I have to give it to James. James has figured something out with that. And I didn't think much of that scene. I was like, oh,
No,
okay.
I did. As soon as we got to the next, like right after that, where Matthew
I
was
didn't
in
catch
it,
that it wasn't Matthew.
as soon as we got like the scene after that, where it was like Matthew was just like normal and like they didn't bring it up again. Like we don't see him, like we don't see like James getting the whatever it was that he like
That's
went and got.
mm-hmm.
Like we don't see James getting it. Like I knew something was wrong. I was like, that wasn't Matthew. Like I was suspicious.
I
And then
was
where it was the whole like, that wasn't me. It was like, oh.
I was like, oh no, who was it? What is going on here?
And then
And
from there, everything just goes downhill, honestly.
went to shit. But before we talk about that, speaking of people who aren't who they say they are, We got some. I was honestly like very like shocked and offended that that was not Waylon the Smith. I was so
Oh my gosh.
about that. I was like,
I
oh
was
my
excited,
God.
but at the same time, I was like, something's not right because this is like a name that like we've heard so
We've
much in
we've
the
yeah.
Shadowhunter, all the books. Like it's, I didn't think he was alive, so I was like, why is he just here? Like this is weird. It almost felt like too good to be true. It's kind of like a name that like you hear and you don't actually ever meet because the expectations of meeting them would just be so big, and
Yeah.
like you couldn't live up to that. Like I don't know. Like it was weird. So then it made sense and it wasn't really him.
Well, I mean, we've met,
But it was
like,
exciting. I was kind of like a celebrity. It was like, oh my god, we've heard so much about you.
I was so starstruck. I was like,
Yeah.
I was so starstruck reading that. Like in the beginning of the book, when they mention it's like some fairy in passing who's like, "Oh, Waylon the Smith lives here," or whatever. And I'm like thinking, I'm like, "Oh my God, Grace! Like, don't listen to whatever this fairy is. Like, if you know like the Shadowhunter books, like you know that like Fae are not right. Like, there's
You can't trust
you
them.
can't trust
They
them."
twist the truth. Like they can't lie, but they'll twist the truth.
Exactly. Like it's no good. Wherever you're gonna go, you're gonna end up like eating something you're not supposed to eat. You're gonna end up like dancing till you die. Like something's gonna happen with Faye. Like don't listen to him. So I was really happy that she was like, I'm not gonna listen to anything you're saying about
Mm-hmm.
Waylon the Smith. Like, okay, fine. Because we have this issue with Cortana, which we actually I was very proud of us because we did theorize that the reason why Cortana was gonna be burning Cordelia was because of it stabbing a prince of hell,
Mm-hmm.
which was really cool that we predicted. I was like, oh yay!
It was like the one prediction we got right.
The one thing that we got right. But I thought that was really great, and I love that we had that right. And then there was like that scene when she goes to see. I thought it was really cool that she brought Matthew with her. I really loved their friendship in this book. But I liked how it was Matthew that went with her to find Waylon the Smith. And when she like kneels down and we kind of get this understanding of what's going on with Cortana and why it's not listening to her. And I was so starstruck. I was like, bro, like we read you for like 10 books. Like this is
Right?
Waylon the Smith. Like this is huge. Oh my God. I was so excited to meet him. And then I was so betrayed at the end when I found out that was Lilith. Like
But the fact that it was Lilith. Why are you here?
Why am I dealing with you in this book? I've already dealt with you through the mortal instruments. Like
I don't need you here.
Like I am so tempted to go back and like read some of like City of Lost Souls, City of Fallen Angels, like the back half of TMI, because that's when we had Lilith, who was like an active member in the Shadowhunter Chronicles. And so I was literally like this bitch again. Like, are you kidding me? Like, what? And I did go back into some of my I think I went back into like the earlier Mortal Instrument books when they were like talking about like Edom and stuff like that, because we know Edom from the Mortal Instrument series as well. But yeah, I didn't find any hints. Like I don't know, like because I want to know what happened. Like how did they actually like get rid of Lilith? Like, do you think that what James did at the end is really it for Lilith, or we're gonna see her again in the next book?
I think we're gonna see her again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think we're gonna see her again.
Another way I was so personally offended was how she pretended to be Magnus Bane. Like, excuse me.
Right? I feel like I was more offended about that because that's Magnus.
I was like,
and I was so excited, like when Magnus when Magnus was with James, like going with him to Edom, and like I was so excited. That was like so cool. And then it was like, it's not Magnus.
Not Magnus. That was Lilith the whole time, which I thought was really cool. How like at the end, like Belial like didn't believe. I feel like I'm calling him like 3 different names in this.
Belial.
You guys know
Belial.
Belial. So he was unaware of Lilith's plan the entire time, which I thought was really cool. Like he was also taken aback. Like we had like 2 villains who were also like against each other, but like they were both against James kind of, but like James had to work with like his grandfather briefly because of Lilith. Like I thought it was like really cool, like that circle of like family, but like
Mhm.
not knowing like what was going on.
So the one dynamic that we didn't talk about yet, surprisingly, was Grace and Lucy. I really enjoyed their scenes. I thought that was a very interesting duo and how they're both very different, but they're working towards the same goal of they both want Jesse back. And I feel like Lucy was kind of rubbing off on Grace in a way where she was trying to bring him back in like a way that wasn't like evil, like trying to stay away from the dark magic, and she kind of convinced Grace to go that route. So they were trying to do it where like they were getting like a bunch of like ingredients and stuff, like, and trying to do it that way. But I really enjoyed their partnership and them trying to resurrect Jesse.
I did. I especially loved when like okay, it was so annoying because we have read obviously TDA, so we know Mr. Malcolm Fade very well. And we know Annabelle. We know that how that whole thing went down. I thought like they were like, "Oh, let's talk to Malcolm Fade.
As
Let's
soon as
deal
as
with
soon as
him."
they said that, it was like,
Like, don't do it. Don't do it. The guy's crazy. Don't do it.
it's interesting though, because in the book, this is when Malcolm was kind of against it.
Yes, and he's not like the Malcolm we know in
No, he's not. He's the
previous
Malcolm
chapters of the
before he
book.
becomes the Malcolm that we know. He thinks that it's like not natural, like you bringing them back in that way, and like yeah, it was very strange to see Malcolm not like how we know him now.
One thing that like I just think is just so interesting, and I like love that Cassie did this because it honestly makes Malcolm that much more of a great character, and he's just so sad and interesting. And you know his story with Annabelle, how he fell in love with her and he didn't know that she was dead because they didn't tell him, and how he finds out from Grace, and it's just like, oh my god,
Oh my gosh, yes, that whole thing where they were lying to him and
lying.
Annabelle really wasn't there. She's been dead.
And then this whole thing was how he grows to hate the Blackthorns and how he grows to hate shadow hunters and he goes against them and how he doesn't like them. And I think like another interesting parallel, like I don't like making this parallel because it's not like a good parallel, but like Malcolm and Annabelle and like Lucy and Jesse, how I
Don't do that.
well, because if you think about it, Lucy brings Jesse back to life, and Malcolm wants the same thing from Annabelle.
But it's not the same though, because like
It's not the
he
same.
brings back somebody who's been dead for so many years.
Yeah.
And
And he brings back somebody he kills people for. He does it the bad route. Like he does it that's like wrong way. But I just think that desperation, it's interesting when you think of the parallels there and how like
yeah.
one went to the dark side completely and like one stayed on the light side, but it's the same general idea of like
And
loving
plus you have
someone
to think
so
like,
much.
yes, Lucy was trying to do it in a way where it wasn't evil, but she ended up spiraling anyway, and then she was kind of willing to do anything to get him back.
Yeah. Well, I think Lucy does it in a way like Ty. Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, TDA spoilers, but like Ty eventually does deals with necromancy and he tries to bring back I can I say who?
Somebody
But
very close to him.
somebody close to him. And so it's like that same thing. And I love that Cassie does that in her books because I feel like I've learned so much about like life through these books, like about
Mm-hmm.
handling grief and about handling relationships and about handling life in general. Like Magnus has helped me get through like grief and like deaths and stuff. Like and like there's just so many amazing quotes. And I love that now, like we saw it in TDA and now we're seeing it again in last hours where there's this desperation of love where I want to bring this person back to life and I live in a world where there's vampires, where warlocks, magic. Why can't I bring this person back
Mm-hmm.
to life so much? And I love that Cassie is like showing us that, and she showed it to us in the Dark Artifices and now we're seeing it in um in this book, and especially like we're seeing how Malcolm, like you could just see how he becomes like the psychopath that he becomes in TDA. Like he goes crazy, and he but you see it because like if you think about this is like 200 years before that, or like 100 years or something, like it's so many years are in between that, where you have to think like he spiraled for so long and really went to like the dark side, and you just see it, and I thought it was just so interesting, but I was like triggered, like I was like TDA, like war flashbacks, like Queen of
Right?
Paradise.
I was like, oh no.
No, I was like, why are we here again? Why are we telling all of Malcolm these things? Because we know how this ends, and just the
That's
fact, like,
what's like so crazy. Like we know how this ends, so to see it like before it begins is just like, oh my gosh.
yeah, like just to see how everything like comes out. Oh my god. And like just
Mm-hmm.
I love that now we're getting like the history of how that happened. But like they're talking about like Annabelle, and I'm like, oh my god, we've been here before. Like it was like that, like the Taylor Swift line that's like I've seen this film before and I didn't like the ending.
Literally.
Like, and I think that obviously, like, we know, I'm just really scared for Lucy in the next book, because now she's with Malcolm, and Malcolm is going to force her to talk to Annabelle's ghost. And I think that's going to be so cool. Like, are we going to see Annabelle's ghost in this talking to Lucy? Like, is she going to be able to connect with her spirit? And like, is she going to, like, she's obviously not going to be able to bring her back, but like, I don't know. Like, what's Annabelle going to say to Malcolm? Like, I just think that this opens like a door, and I'm just really excited for what it's going to happen. And I'm so happy that
And
Jesse.
we have Will after. We have Will chasing after her though. So she's gotta do all this before Will catches up.
Will Herondale was not in this book as much as I wanted him to be, and neither was
Mm-hmm.
Magnus, like the real Magnus. And we find out why, obviously, with the short story. And neither was like Jem. Like we were missing like our big Infernal Device characters, and I think we were missing them because if they were here, a lot of things would not have gone to shit the way they did. Like,
Literally, yeah.
like I loved when, like, if Magnus was there, this is not what would have happened. Things would have gone down
No.
differently with Magnus, and if Jem was there to actually like guide James through this, and be more involved with like Lucy and like like his brother Zachariah, Uncle Jem, like if he was more involved. But I loved Will's entrance in this book when he comes in with the mortal sword. Like him and Tessa come in and they're like, all right, what is this? Thomas, you got accused of murder. Like, what is happening? And I love that Will was able to give Thomas the mortal sword, like when he was holding it. And I love that it was Will that was there for him and like helped guide him through that. Like I felt better about the interrogation. And
Yeah, definitely.
like I was like, okay. And I thought it was really funny how at the end he was like, does Gideon know that he owes me 20 pounds?
Yeah.
And Thomas was like, yes, he does. And he's like, Will's like, I knew it. He owes me money. I know it. I thought that was really great. And yeah, I thought that was really cool. And then, oh my God, we get this insane scene at the Institute.
I feel like one thing just happened after the other, this whole ending. Like we had so many things happening at once. Like we had the bracelet breaking, that whole thing, when that finally broke off, that craziness with Grace and
oh my God.
That.
Okay, so when it broke off, it literally, like, these headaches that James was getting, like, throughout the book was himself, like,
it was him, like, fighting
that compulsion and that power. But then what ended up happening is, I'm assuming, like, they loved each other so hard, like, and so much that the bracelet was not able to be there anymore, and it broke off because the love that Cordelia and James felt for each other was too powerful. I'm assuming that's what happened.
That's what I think. Yeah, that's what
like,
it seemed like to me.
It was like true love broke the spell,
basically.
Right? Like
that's what it seemed like.
That's what it seemed like at that moment. It was like it came off, and I like was ready to like throw confetti. I was so happy. I was like finally, like, free at last. Thank God almighty, we are free at last.
Yeah, but that happiness lasted for like 5 seconds.
Oh yeah, it was super brief. We didn't get anywhere with it because like once it was off.
Ugh.
Oh my God, I was so mad. Like, I was so frustrated when James Herondale opens his mouth and he's like, I don't feel like the way I feel about Grace with you. I was like, really, James? Like, really? Like, when he said that, how he was like, no, I can't feel the way I feel about Grace with you. And he says something like really annoying like that. And the whole thing was because he doesn't like Grace. So obviously he doesn't feel that towards Cordelia because he realizes, like, I hate Grace right now. Like, he's like, I fucking hate this girl. And he loves Cordelia and he's aware of that and he's able to feel it and he's able to remember certain moments, like that moment when when he had the fever. Able to kind of remember how he was starting to feel that way about her so long ago, and it was manipulated and taken out of proportion from Grace, and it was just changed, and it changed him as a character too and as a person. And it's really sad because these are such like primitive years, like growing years, and he realizes that not only did it affect his relationship with Cordelia, it affected his relationship with his parabatai, with Matthew. It affected his relationship with even his sister, like seeing what was going on with everybody else. Like, he was just in such a Grace funk where everything was Grace, and it was like a haze that was lifted, but it was lifted at an annoying moment because then the door knocks, and guess who's at the door? Grace. And guess what she does? Throw her arms around.
Oh my gosh, it's so annoying that was the moment.
I was so sad for Cordelia. I was so upset. And honestly, I was like, I don't blame you. Like, leave. Like, I would have left too. Like, I don't blame you. This is wrong. And I was so mad at James. I was like, but then I was like cheering for him like a minute later when he was telling off Grace. So it was
it was just a frustrating like situation. And oh my gosh, that whole thing where now she ran off with Matthew, and we didn't even get like a scene with James and Cordelia for him to tell her the truth, because James is now with Will going after Lucy, who's run off with
not on purpose.
Jesse. Okay, hold on, Jesse. Jesse the killer.
You guys,
my heart. Hold on, can I talk though about that scene with Jesse? My favorite scene of Jesse and Lucy. Well, not my favorite, but it was like, okay, it was one of my favorites.
Great scene. It's a great scene.
It was when it was like one of their last like scenes too in the book until like the end. It was when he was like, if I must fade, he said, I would like to fade remembering this is my last walking dream. Don't go, she whispered. Hold on for me. We are so close. He touched her cheek. Only promise me one thing, he said. If I do go, give us a happy ending, will you, in your book? I don't believe in endings, she said, but he only smiled at her and faded slowly from view. I was crying at that moment because I was like, oh my God, this is the end of them. Like,
I was so oh my God.
He's back.
Yes.
But we didn't really get anything, like, we don't know like the like repercussions of that because they just kind of went off and then the book ended so abruptly. Like, it just ended. Like, what happened?
Like, what I was confused about with that is like, you know how they have to kill like the 5 shadow hunters, like they have to kill 5 lives, right? For somebody to come back from the dead, right? So were those all the killings that we had throughout the whole book that ended up being where Jesse was able, like, were those the lives that were taken in exchange for Jesse? Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Right? That's what makes the most sense. And okay, so that one scene with Jesse and Lucy, I honestly, like, I've reread their scenes so many times. I love them so much. But there was one scene when she's like, I just need to try it once. I just need to command you to live.
Oh, yes. She ends up commanding him to live, and then
but then there was like the demons or something that was like in there and it was stopping her from getting him and like finding him to bring him back.
It was like, yeah, like she was close, but she couldn't get him.
And then she got like freaked out and Jesse was like, oh my God, we cannot try that again. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when I was texting you and I'm like, oh my God, she's going to command him to live, but she needs to get rid of these other things first.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the cover technically of the book. And then like what ended up happening was she was able to do it at the end. But okay, before we get to that, let's talk all about the chaos that was the ending of this book. So we basically had like all hell was brought, like the Loch Ness monster was at the London Institute.
We had
And
like a sea monster attacking.
it was like we were in like a Percy Jackson book. Literally, like there was like this waterfall like coming in and all these like worm type demons were like fighting everybody. And then Gabriel, oh my God, Gabriel was like in trouble at one point, and then we didn't find out how he was until like the end of the book. But I was like, oh my God, did they just like hurt Gabriel? And then I'm like trying to like think in the back of my mind, like Clockwork Princess, like who's in the epilogue, is everybody okay in the epilogue, like is everybody okay in like that, like I'm like, oh my God, like are these guys like not fair game, like can they die now in this series? Yeah, I thought that was really cool, and I loved how we got to see Thomas and Alistair and Christopher all fighting together, and Anna was there, and they were all like, it was like this giant battle, and like Will and Tessa were there. It was like, it was so cool. Like this Institute battle was so awesome, and yeah, I
It
love
was
that.
crazy because we had all of that going on while everything was happening with like Jesse showing up and like possessed, and then
Yeah.
we had Lucy was like, no, don't kill him, and then it was James, and then Cordelia, it was Cordelia, and it was Cordelia being like controlled by Lilith. What's going on?
It was like one thing after the other with this book, and then like I thought
It's gonna be interesting though with Cordelia though, because now she is like, I don't, what was it? Was she kind of like sired to Lilith? Like she's kind of like,
yeah, she's a
wore herself to her.
Yeah, she swore
By the blade or whatever. So like now she
has to do what she tells her to do.
She's like has to do her bidding, which is gonna be a very big issue the next book.
She almost like killed her best friend. Like her and Lucy went at it.
Yeah, so which is sad now because I think that we're gonna hold off on them becoming parabatai.
No, I know.
Because it's kind of dangerous.
Yeah, now they can't become parabatai right now. And like as it is, like she literally like how scary is this? Like how are we getting out of this? Like that Cordelia cannot be an active member now in fighting because she
can't be trusted because she could be controlled. Like she has to do basically what Lilith says. So I don't know.
How are we fixing that? How is Cortana going to be okay again? Like, how does Cortana live to see Emma Carstairs? Like, how does that happen?
There's so much that needs to get solved.
Like, Cortana, like, I can't believe the sword went through this. Like, and then another thing, speaking about swords, the Blackthorn sword, we don't know what happens to it still. We saw it again in this book, but it's going to get destroyed or something's going to happen to it. And I wonder if something with Cortana is going to end up like going off into the Blackthorn blade. Like if something's going to happen where like the that power,
ooh, like the negative power is going to go into that blade, and like transfer it, and then it's going to like destroy that it's going to destroy the Blackthorn, and then Cortana will be okay again.
Something like that needs to happen because we don't have a Blackthorn blade in today's TDA. In TDA, like Julian doesn't have a blade that's the Blackthorn blade. Like neither does Ty. Like there is no Blackthorn blade. So there is in this book though, and Cassie said we're gonna figure that out. So
that could have something to do with that though. That's a good theory.
Yeah, like I don't know. I'm just trying to think like how are we getting out of this with Cordelia? Like showed us how powerful she could be with that sword because remember they were like fighting like that demon and then she's like goes like she has like a really cool fighting moment where she was able to slay the demon like really easily and then James like I don't know if it was like the same scene but like it showed her at one point how cool she was and she was like wow I'm so powerful with this blade like I want to be this incredible shadow hunter and it was just really, really sad that she's not. It's Lilith that's under controlling.
Yeah, I'm so curious on what's gonna happen with Lilith.
And I'm really sad for her too. And I love that she had that scene with Alistair when she at first felt she didn't feel like she was worthy of the blade and she tried to give it to him and he was like, no, this is your blade. Like, this is yours. And
Yeah.
yeah, I feel really bad for her because she went through a lot in this book trying to get Cortana to be okay again just for this to happen. Like, that's awful. And oh my God. So when Jesse comes out with all these runes on him, and now all of a sudden he's this super powerful shadow hunter, and it's Belial,
Belial.
whatever his name is. It's him. And oh my God. I was just I couldn't I was like I knew it was at this point I was like I figured it was Jesse, but I didn't want it to be Jesse and I was so sad that it was because I know that he would be so upset and I'm sure like what are his like what
That's
is
what I want to know, like how he is.
how is he? Is he
okay? What does he think about being alive? Like I need to know. Like I need to know. Like I need to have a scene of him and Lucy. Like
I know. And I need to know what the Clave is gonna think because the Clave is not that great, even though Charlotte.
No, they're not gonna be happy.
Like, I mean, I feel like Will's gonna be okay, and I feel like our guys are gonna think it's okay, especially James because Jesse really saved James in Chain of Gold. I don't know, but like, what is what position is Charlotte gonna be in with this now? Like, as the consul, like, what is she gonna do? Because the Inquisitor sucks.
I don't know.
Like I'm so curious what everybody's opinion is going to be with this that he's alive and how is he going to be able to be an active shadow hunter now? I guess so because now he has all these runes. So like if he wants to be a shadow hunter, he can be. Like I'm just really scared for him though because like I have such a bad feeling that like bad things are going to happen 1st. Especially now that like Malcolm's around. I'm just like Malcolm is going to go. Like when Malcolm like took them at the end, I was just so scared because we know Malcolm and I still have that mindset of him being that crazy person. And so I was just like, oh no, Malcolm has them. This is so bad.
But Malcolm's not crazy yet.
But I was also trying to think like, no, like he really just wants them to, he was trying to help them and he wants to figure out what's going to happen with Annabelle.
That was like the whole deal is that she has to help him.
Yeah. But like, what does he do to make her help him?
I feel like we're going to see that little bit of like him start to get a little bit desperate. We're going to see a little bit of that because we didn't really like get that. He really wasn't like he wasn't crazy yet. So I feel like we're going to get a little bit of that where we're going to start to see that.
Okay. And also, when like I loved when like Lucy came in, like she came running in and she was like, don't hurt him, oh my God. And then she commands Jesse to like expel that Prince of Hell out of him.
Oh my gosh.
Some shit right there.
Literally.
Like, and it reminded
me like Supernatural where like the demon comes out of the mouth.
Yeah, that's literally what it was like. It was like a moment of, oh my God, she was able to help them in that way and like Jesse was able to fight through because he was listening to Lucy. And it was just like, because it wasn't really Jesse, but like it was in there. And I just like.
I'm so excited just to have a live Jesse.
I know. Did I say that? Like we said that like going into this book, we're like, listen.
But it still scares me though because he's not on the family tree.
Jesse's on the family tree.
Or they are in the family tree, but doesn't it like
has like extended Black Forest?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, so that's a little strange.
Yeah, I think it's really funny that Cassie said that in Chain of Thorns our bonus scene is going to be like the explanation of the family tree.
Thank God.
like that has bothered me since 2013, apparently. Like that's just really funny. So when Lilith came in and then I thought it was really cool how James was able to take his gun, the demon gun, and he was able to shoot at Lilith. and
Yes.
that like really injured her. But now the thing is, how injured is she? Like, will she be able to come back by the next? Because didn't they say like it said how many times you have to hurt
I
a
think
princess?
3 times, right?
Isn't it three? So we did hurt, but I think we hurt him twice. So now the last one is the next book.
Mm-hmm.
But Lilith, I think, was only hurt once. So is she like an exception to that? Like I don't know how. I'm so
I don't know
curious.
if that applies. I don't know.
And then it's kind of like, what is her thing? Like she just wants to get to eat him, right? Like she just wants to be at her home base or something, right? So I don't know. Like I'm just really curious, and I know that I'm pretty sure she does get there because when I was looking through TMI, she's there. I'm pretty sure. I have to like go through, and we're gonna do a prediction video, but so like I'll do like my research for that.
Yeah,
But
that's why we haven't really talked about predictions in this video, guys, because that's gonna have to be a whole other video. It would be too long.
yeah, it would be way too long because we have clearly a lot of thoughts and feelings.
Literally, we have so much, a lot of thoughts about this book.
A lot. This kind of opened a bag of worms. And did we also figure out why James was able to see all the murders happening? Was it because of his connection to his grandfather?
We didn't really get a solid explanation about
Or I
that.
saw someone on Tumblr, but I don't know if that would be real. Someone on Tumblr was like, it was because he has a connection to Jesse. I don't know about that though, because I
Oh,
feel
because
like,
of the last breath?
yeah.
I didn't think about that. I mean, I guess
And
that could
now
be.
I'm wondering if because he has that connection to Jesse, would he be able to find Lucy at the end? Because at the end, they're like, we got to find Lucy. And is James, Magnus, and Will are going to find Lucy.
Mm-hmm.
And is James going to be able to do something, like see what's going on, like because of Jesse? Like, is there a connection between them? Like, that's a problem if there is.
That is, I think, all of our thoughts. There was a lot to discuss. I think we got pretty much everything. There's a lot of things that we wanted to talk about with theories, but we're going to do a whole other video of that with our two friends, Cynthia and Ashley. We're going to do that next weekend, so that'll be coming soon, where we're going to talk about predictions and theories. If you have any predictions that you're excited about and you want to share with us, you can comment that down below. We could talk about that in our video, and we can all theorize together.
I feel like we kind of talked about the ending like quickly in this video. So, I mean, not really, because like there was so much.
That'll also go through our like prediction theory video, though. I feel like that'll be
It'll
a
be
lot of it about the ending too.
yeah, we'll kind of go more through the ending in that video because we'll be able to really like talk about like where
like,
we're going,
where we're going into
yeah, because there's a lot, and there are so many little moments that I feel like we didn't get to talk about in this book.
I know, like so many like
Little
scenes that we love that would just we'd be here for hours and hours and hours if we sat there and read every scene that we loved.
I know, because it would be like, let me just say,
Let me just reread the book to you. Like,
because like it was just so great. Like, and I feel like I ended this book and I was like, wow, this is probably Cassie's worst cliffhanger. And that's having like it like I get why everybody was like, oh, it was such an emotional ending, but I was just more like frustrated where we're at. Like that's why I feel like it's the worst to me, because I'm just like, I need the next book, like
yeah.
like desperately.
There's so many things like I need to know right now what happened, like what's going on.
Yes. Like I was telling one of our friends, Ashley, about this. I was like, I feel like it's like that Mark of Athena ending from like Rick Riordan, where it was like we're like literally hanging off of a cliff, like waiting for like talk more about that stuff in that video. And if you guys sat through this whole thing, oh my god, thank you. This was a very long video.
Yes, it was. Thank you for hanging out with us and listening to us go on and on. Let us know what your thought of the book, your favorite parts down below, and definitely be on the lookout for a theory video coming. And if you're interested, we're doing a book club. We have a video about that where you could check that out and find out all that information, and we're really excited about it. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to be doing a Discord, and we'll leave the link to the Discord in the chat down below if you guys in the description box if you guys want to like join our little book club. We're
Yeah,
gonna
that's
be
where it'll be. All the discussions for the chapters will be happening and more information about it.
yes. And yeah, thank you for
Thanks
watching.
for watching.
Bye.
Bye.